And welcome back to Rimworld, welcome back to Nathaniel Pride. We're still here, we're still alone, unfortunately no other survivors so far. We're eating a bit, we do have a bit of meal now again. We killed our first raider and off to new adventures. So what I want to do is I want to finish my first research now soon. Also we need to prepare for lots of defense, very important to do that. Right now what we're doing is we are getting up here to our cargo pod that landed here in the first episode, get us a bit of wool, and also, well, we can have here all these steel slag chunks that we can use then, especially for our first defense. Now here, this is just a perfect choke point here for all the raiders to come through. So what we want to start with first is starting a structure, and that is a steel wall. Why a steel wall? Well, the wood wall, they can actually burn that. So if it's wood, they can burn that and they don't probably have to go through the corridor that I want to set out here for the trap. So in this case here, a steel wall it is as our very first line of defense. Just, well, up here then. And there we have the line for steel now, and just here the raiders will then have to pass through. So here we're going to have lots of traps then in this little path for those guys coming in here. The other thing is that we need then is, well, we do need of course still a steel door where we can go through. So let's have the steel door then on this side, and Nathaniel is already starting to construct his first line of defense. And since that steel is most likely not enough, what we should be doing is we should then mine a bit more of the compact steel that we have in here. The good thing about that is, as we can see, we're getting a bit more room for our own living quarters then. The rice is still growing, preparing for winter, and we are right now crafting us a wool jacket. That is not so important since we do already have the first cloth that we're wearing here right now, so the lizard button shirt for example. But it is very important because this boosts our crafting skill, and we do need a highest crafting skill to get the first bow. Without the bow, well, we don't have a ranged weapon, and hunting is also much more difficult without a bow, so we have to really go with that. Also a doorknob, very good. Just this little section here is missing then. And since there is a corpse around here, also this is disturbing and is, well, draining the mood. So as long as the corpse is lying around here, well, we have a bit of a penalty for that. But the corpse, of course, is deteriorating and decaying, and once it's gone, this penalty should no longer be applied then. Meanwhile, Nathaniel finally has also finished our first line of defense here. Very good. So all the raiders that are coming now, they will have to go through this tiny spot here where we're going to have lots of traps, so they won't be really having a chance. Now I still have some mining up here. Yeah, you can finish this one here, so he's going to finish that, and then we have a bit of steel left over for some future endeavors. Also, since the meals are going down a bit here, let's also harvest the berries that we have here. And let's also have a look around if we just find an animal corpse. Perhaps that might be a good idea. So we can butcher and slaughter something. Unfortunately, no dead animals are lying around. Only a lot of sleeping animals, and I dare not attack them with a, well, simple knife. So we still have to wait for a first bow. Unfortunately, ranged weapons are very hard to come by, as we can see. Lucky and Ibex died not too far away, so we do have here a bit of that. Chunks of a spacecraft have impacted nearby. You can deconstruct them to yield resources. Very good. Over here, ship chunks, and we can deconstruct them to find hopefully something out of that. So another nice event that should help us a bit. While we do all these things, so Nathaniel is quite busy, I want to continue finishing our little defense line here. So as we can see, another structure for the steel wall is needed. There we have the steel structure outlined, so people will then try to get through this corridor, or that is at least my hope that they do that. And while they're trying to fight their way through this one, we will then have some wooden traps. We could also have some steel spike traps that would do a bit more damage, so let's do that. Let's have one here, another one, and then some wooden traps as well, since we do have enough wood. Alright, so those traps should probably hold off at least 2 attackers. At least that is my hope for this one. We get the Ibex back here. And this should provide us with some decent meals again. We are also crafting us some wool pants there, so the wool that we still have is still useful to us. That should bring us to the next crafting skill rather soon, hopefully. And as we can see, yep, only 500 points are needed now, and then we have the second crafting skill, and this would then finally open up the bow to us. Very good, and the first trap is coming up again. Nathaniel finally has a bit of time to look at these ship chunks, so let's have a look what we find out of the first one. I hope we can finish it on time. Very good, lots of steel and some components. We can use them for better equipment than later, but the steel of course is important. So that with that we should hopefully be able to finish our second line of defense. Next day, Nathaniel continues to get us the next shipwright. Very good, and lots of steel as well. These components here, we can just leave them there. They will not deteriorate outside. We also get another event, the psychic drone. Every male colonist feels a wave of anxiety and anger. Some distant engine of hatred is stirring. It is projecting a psychic drone onto the side through an orbital amplifier tuned to only affect males. For a few days, some people's mood will be quite a bit worse. The drone level is still low, and that should hopefully not affect us too much. So let's just have a quick look here. There we have the low psychic drone. It's a minus 12 penalty, so it's actually quite strong and will, well, drain our mood even further. And as we can see, the minor break threshold is at 35%, so we are going down now to, I think, 40%, so pretty low to the break threshold. Also, we should never forget our medicine supply, so we just harvested some medicine plants, and I've also changed now the storage rules, so the medicine will now be brought into the interior storage room here, so it deteriorates slower. The corpse here is already turning in color, and yeah, having a good joint feels as well. So this guy here had a joint with him, and the joint actually survived that long. So right now we do have recreation fully satisfied with 10, and high on smoke leaf gives us a bonus. We are stoned. I'm like stoned, man. So Nathaniel is quite happy at the moment, sees a lot of colors most likely. What we continue on the very next day after eating our second last meal, well, we continue to make us some patch leather and a cowboy hat. So let's have a look at his crafting skills. Yeah, it's getting up there. 400 points are missing now for the next level. We're still utter beginner though for crafting. And then we finish the cowboy hat. And now Nathaniel is off to where? Up to some berries outside here. Very good, preparing for the next meals. At the moment, unfortunately, since we are completely alone, we have to do everything ourselves. Hopefully a colonist, another one, will join us at some point. We are not a psychopath, so everyone is welcome to join. And yeah, there are some more berry bushes outside here that have grown again, so we can harvest them when we have the time for it. The steel traps here, so this one needs to be built still, so a bit of steel that we can mine on this side there. Very good. And more berries are coming in, and then we can continue with the mining. And now we have everything ready to complete the next steel traps. Actually, I think 2 of them. Nope, only this one. And a steel trap, very good. It's doing significantly more damage than a wooden trap. Also, we have a nice hat here, a cowboy hat. This one gives us -3 beauty. Unfortunately, that is not very good because Nathaniel likes to be beautiful. We have a cap right now, the cloth 2K. This one, and this one gives us beauty also -3, so it's pretty much the same at the moment. This one gives us a higher insulation to cold though, so very important then for the cold. Though when the winter comes, we will probably resort to the wool cloth that we have here. And finally, the psychic drone is ending, so this penalty is long gone now, and the mood should rise then again up to higher levels. Thank the gods. While we are cooking, another transport pod crashes. A recruiter named September is crashing in a transport pod nearby. If she survives the impact, she will be badly wounded. September is from your enemy North Unura. You can capture her for recruitment or slavery purposes. Let's jump to her. There she is. We could strip her of the clothes. She's got very bad clothes though. Oh, alpaca wool is very good. Other than that, she is badly wounded right now. She has stab wounds. She's bleeding. I don't know if we can actually take care of her. We could capture her. Let's capture her. And after a bit of time, September is able to walk again, though, as we can see, she is heavily bleeding, and I don't think that she will survive the next day. Now, she still has gotten us another steel slag junk here, though, out of the, I think, crash pod, and also some travelers have arrived, hopefully some traders that are coming to my colony. Oh, September. I hope September is not trying to get through my traps here, because that will be the certain death of her. And a bit later, she actually died from her wounds, so there was really nothing that we could do with her. So let's strip her of the cloth that she has and get the cloth, and that's pretty much the end of it. I don't want my Nathaniel to become a cannibalist, though. So in that case, I'm not going to eat her, even though it is quite tempting because that is free food, right? But the cloth we can take, and we can trade it then with a trader for a bit of silver, if we get a trader at some point. Another thing that happened is the rice is finally able to be harvested, so we get lots of rice now out of this field. And the cool thing is, well, the rice will then just regrow. So this rice farm here is going to stay here now quite some time, until at least I build a structure over it or something like that. So this will be lots of food that we can cook with that now. And the other thing is we have more wool. So what I could do is I could probably make another cowboy hat or something like that to finally get to that level 2 crafting. It's not that far away anymore. But for now, we are cooking us the rice that we got. Lots of meals. Very good. Another thing that is happening just as we are cooking is another raid is arriving. So a group of tribespeople from Sol Gralor Alliance have arrived. They're attacking immediately. That is one guy here. And I think it's only this one, right? I hope so, at least, because this one guy will probably not survive the traps that we have. But just for security purposes, let's just build us another wooden spike trap here. For that, we will probably don't need a bit of more wood. We have plenty of luck here in my little area. But let's just have a look. There he is. Gray he's called. He's naked and he's only got a dagger equipped. So very, very weak raid that is indeed. Let's just look what he's trying to do. Oh, he's actually trying to attack the steel now, the steel wall, and the steel wall is burning. It's on fire, but after just trying once, he's rather going through that. And the first steel trap is already killing him. Very good. At least not killing him, but he is now deadly wounded. Nathaniel is already repairing the wall there right away. And yeah, some joints, very good. A bit of medicine, that's probably it. Nothing else that we can do with this guy. Let's just have a look. We could capture him, though we still don't have an unreserved enclosed prisoner marked bed, so we should do that. And after a bit of time, we just needed really those 3 walls here with the door. We have a little enclosed room here with an unowned sleeping spot. So this one is for prisoners, and now we can finally capture our first prisoner. If he, well, I don't know, survives this one, we could use him then to get also barter for some money, hopefully. So let's just get him then. Oh, alright, he died. He died as we were on the way to him, so unfortunately, not much we can do. We could prioritize cleaning the blood now. We can consume him if we wanted to, but since we don't have a food problem, I'm definitely not going to do that. So we'll just have to wait until he decays. We can take the medicine though. We do have the smoke leaf joints here, very good. And other than that, we can continue with those traps. Lots of berry bushes here as well that we can always harvest after 1 or 2 days. That's pretty useful. And we're going to bed again. We have 7 meals at the moment available, so really no food problem. And next day we actually have a bit of time here to collect these components, bring them back to our camp. And I think what we can also focus on now a bit is electricity. Now, as we can see in our room, it is 27 degrees, so quite warm actually. It's not very good for the meals as well, and we want to have a refrigerator at some point. So starting with a bit of power will be a good thing. Speaking of which, there we have the wind turbine. So this one here is then creating power for us during daytime, or at least when there is wind. As we can see, it needs 2 components and 100 steel. Now 100 steel is a bit of a problem. The rest shouldn't be too much of a problem, so hopefully we can do that. And let's just have our first wind turbine then pretty close to my home, so we can use it then kind of like that. It hopefully connects then to the room here automatically without me having to wire it. And we are smoking a bit of a joint here as well. So Nathaniel truly knows how to live this life. Next day, while we are mining the steel for our wind turbine, what is coming up? A quest, our very first quest, Procene the Sad. A desperate refugee named Procene is approaching. Procene claims to have lost her home in a recent attack. Procene begs you for permission to stay at Colony for 16 days so she can rest and regroup. In return, she offers to work and fight for free during that time. If you make her happy, she may offer to join you. She may also reward you later for helping her, but there is no way to know her true intentions. This refugee is not part of any faction. If you wish, you can choose to kill, arrest, sell, or harvest her without diplomatic consequences. And I think this is a pretty good quest, so she doesn't belong to any faction or something like that, and she will help us for quite some time. So let's accept this one. And there the refugee arrives. Let's jump to her. There she is. Actually, she is quite fine looking, and since it looks like you'll be here for a while, Pride thinks that you should give your faction a name. What should your faction be called? Delda's Confederation sounds like a good name, and we have our settlement also being called now the Compassion's Cave. So that's exactly what you can see when you just walk to the entrance with corpses lying around everywhere. Nathaniel is continuing to craft the traps. And now we finally have also a new colonist that will probably stay here. Let's just have a look at her stats real quick. She's pretty good with cooking. That's fine. She's also pretty good with the medical stuff. Crafting 3, very good. That means we can finally have our bow. So let's open up the crafting spot. There we have the short bow. Let's actually make 2 short bows now that we can do that. For that, however, we probably will still need a bit of wood then as well. And I'm expecting, though, an attack coming at some point, because she's a refugee, obviously. There definitely is something behind the whole thing here. But, well, at least 2 people. I'm quite happy. And she also looks quite good looking, right? Now, Nathaniel is still going with the steel. We also have some berry bushes here, and the rice is also being ready for harvest again. That means, though, that now that we have 2 of them, well, food consumption is a bit higher now than it used to be. What I will also need for her is another bed, so we're going to have another wooden bed just here in this corner beside Nathaniel. Perhaps something comes out of this. I have no dark intentions though. And all the traps are being set, so we have 3 steel traps and 2 wooden traps. That should be quite enough for the next bigger attack, so at least with 2 to 3 people. And she's right away going to take one of the joints that is lying around here. Well, I think in this world that's just as good, and we really do need to finish that bed here because we want to make her happy. There is the bed, and that is now the bed of Procene. We have lots of steel, and as we can see, we do need 100 steel, though we don't quite have that yet. Nathaniel finally has also a bit of time to now research again, because when he was alone, you know, there wasn't really that much time for it. Now with Procene, she can harvest while he continues to research. She's also pretty good then at cooking. So what I can do is on my work schedule, I can say that Pride, so Nathaniel, no longer needs to cook really, right? That's one of the jobs now of Procene that she's doing here. And yeah, Nathaniel will stick to the research for now. As we can see, she's now cooking very good. She's a housewife. She's the perfect housewife, as far as I can see. Also, Pride, so you don't, or Nathaniel, you no longer have to harvest. That's really not your job anymore. It's just taking up way too much time anyway. And does she actually have anything for crafting? Craft. No, she's not crafting. So now she's crafting. Now she can make us the bow that we so desperately need. Now, isn't that nice? After a bit of time, both are sleeping in their beds. A cozy little family that we're starting here. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps she stays, perhaps not. Perhaps a big attack comes and slaughters her. You never really know what comes out of these quests. Now with that, fine, we have grown a bit. We are still not close to 20 power or to research finishing, but other than that, nice foundation still. Stay tuned.